Hi, and thank you for joining me for another video. Today, friends, I'm going to speak to you about a topic that many rabbis don't like to speak much about. The topic, friends, is what is the status of Christians according to halacha. Now, I know you must have heard it, that according to Judaism, Christians are idolaters and Christianity is an idolatrous religion. Well, is it true? Well, not exactly. It is true that according to Judaism, Christianity is an idolatrous religion for Jews to embrace. Absolutely. There is no doubt there. However, according to halacha, Christianity is not an idolatrous religion for non-Jews to embrace, even though it is a silly belief system that any Christian adherent who is religiously serious should drop and ultimately become a Jew. But no, friends, Christianity is not idolatry for non-Jews to embrace. Now, I hope you're beginning to see where the confusion may have set in, right? The problem is that being that Jewish outreach and apologetics is typically only done by Jews for Jews, the conclusion that Christianity is avodah zarah is the only one ever heard. Not to say that there aren't some opinions that hold that it is avodah zarah, because there truly are, like the Noda B'Yehuda, the Hassan Sofer, heck, even the Rambam holds this way. However, there are actually more sources that teach that it's not idolatry. So, in no way is this an area where the halacha is monolithic. But today, friends, I'm going to try to explain why it's not idolatry for non-Jews, which is basically the pasuk that I hold by. Why do I hold this way? Well, mainly to put converts at ease by understanding that if they came from a religious Christian past, all their friends and loved ones still in the movement will not be eternally damned, but will actually have a share in the world to come, right? Think about it. In a just system, how could a holy God punish Christians for not knowing any better? Because ultimately, just like the Rambam taught, that it was through Jesus and even Muhammad that the non-Jewish world came to embrace the idea of the God of Israel and ethical monotheism. In other words, that was the door they had to enter through. And why is this so important? Well, mainly because it took them from a lower level to a higher, holier one, right? Now, on the other hand, if a Jew who does know better chooses to embrace a Trinitarian God, he will be considered an idolater because ultimately he knows better. So in other words, he can go from a holy place to a lesser holy place. But someone could go from a lower level to a higher level. So in that sense, it's not possible for someone who, let's say, knows that Judaism is true and is in some sort of conversion process ever to revert back to Christianity, because we aren't judged against who our mothers were, but actually we're judged against what we have accepted as truth. So in the same sense, someone cannot go from a holier level back to a less holy level, which actually, if you think about it, teaches us that it would be better for, let's say, an ethnic Jew who has no religion. If he's not going to embrace Judaism, he or she should actually embrace Christianity, because Chazal teach that kafir is worse than avodah zarah. In other words, atheism is worse than idolatry, or Christianity in this case for the ethnic Jew. And many people don't like it when I say these things. Why? Mainly because they get stuck on first stage thinking, and their hatred for non-Jews and non-Jewish religions is not greater than their love for ethnic irreligious Jews and their beliefs, which historically has been atheism and not Christianity. So, friends, the idea that Christianity is not idolatry is actually brought down by the rabbis in the concept of shituf, right? Now, shituf, when referring to God, means embracing the idea that God has partners, chas v'shalom. In other words, God plus. So a Christian who still believes in the God of Israel but has added Yashka and the Holy Ghost to the Godhead is actually not breaking any of the 7 laws, right? While a Jew who even tries to break the Almighty into 2, or especially into 10, like the Kabbalists do nowadays, are definitely chayiv on the Isser of shituf. Right? Now, you're probably wondering, why don't many rabbis teach this nowadays? Well, friends, mainly because, like we said, most Jews really dislike Christianity, mainly because of all the hardships they had to suffer under it throughout the years. And also, if they did embrace the idea that Christians and even Muslims have the status of Gerei Toshav instead of Avdei Kohavim, a whole new world of unwanted responsibility opens up for them that I'm not going to cover in this video, but you could research on your own to find out how Jews are supposed to behave with Noahides. But really, if you think about it, the reason Christianity became what it did was because when the Jews were forming the belief system, they chose to de-Judaize it for non-Jews, making it into some type of Noahide belief system instead of encouraging the world to become Jewish. So what ultimately happened is that those non-Jews grew so big and powerful that they just ended up breaking away from Judaism and starting their own movement, which is almost identical to what happened with Islam. and has already begun to happen with Chabad and its Noahide segments, right? They are breaking away and will eventually begin persecuting Jews like Christianity and Islam eventually did. Why? Ultimately because if we don't offer the non-Jewish world Judaism, clearly the highest level a human could attain, they will not stand idly by for religious scraps, but rather will just end up starting up their own belief systems, which will end up deciding ethics apart from Jewish influence, right? And this is a no-brainer, my friend. So why all the drama? Well, mainly because of non-Jewish prejudice, my friends. That's right. That's why Jews have not chosen to share the relationship they experience with the Almighty with the rest of the world, especially when there is no source in Torah or halachic literature stopping them from doing so. But actually, the Rambam brings down that it's actually one of the 613 mitzvahs to do so. So now we continue to suffer for our past and current mistakes. Another example today is how you have Noahide religions such as Islam and Christianity warring against each other, and ultimately we end up suffering for it, right? Friends, we are our greatest enemies. Why? Because common sense would even tell you that the only way you fight bad religion is with good religion, so give them Judaism. And if you really take it to another level, better for the world's sake, let's say if the non-Jews are not going to embrace Judaism, it's actually better for them to embrace Christianity than the silly Noahide movements of today, right? Because think about it, there is not much one is going to accomplish ethically in the world by only going by 7 morally stagnant laws. At least every Christian is obligated to emulate the ethical practices performed by Jesus, a Jew who all would agree kept some type of Torah, right? And why did I call the Noahide laws morally stagnant? Well, because 6 of the 7 laws are negative commandments. In other words, they're do-nots instead of do's. And the 7th commandment is just to establish courts of justice to enforce the previous 6. In other words, in the Noahide laws, there is no commandment to help the poor or to fight evil. Heck, there isn't even a commandment to love God. Now, a Noahide can choose to rise above those commandments and do more, but we can't say that he's doing it because of the Noahide laws. So, not only better a Christian than an atheistic Jew, better a Christian than a Noahide, and ultimately better a mitzvah-keeping Torah Jew than anything else. And if you're hearing me today, I want you to put the sillier, flimsier copies of the original aside and consider Torah Judaism and begin living life to the fullest. If you're interested in learning more about Judaism, please visit bejewish.org. And if you're interested in converting to Judaism, please visit Torah Judaism International at torahjudaism.org. Thank you.